Where is Trump today? He's in the Middle East. Oddly and strangely enough, not meeting with Netanyahu, meeting with Netanyahu's enemies. And here is a man that wanted to turn Gaza into a resort. Well, that's what he does. Trump makes resorts. This isn't new. Trump's a money man. Part of this, all about money. Now, there are people in this world that believe that money solves everything. And that's usually the capitalist of capitalists. Money's the answer to everything. That's why people are greedy and stingy. That's why they count what they give when they give to God. That's why they measure their charity and try to get a benefit when they even do it. Because it's all about money. It's not about the sake of good for the good. At least the Hindus have some idea of letting the people just die off on the street without any compassion or mercy because they got to work out their karma. You don't want to interfere with that. And then they have a caste system. You're born with a certain name in India. Well, that's it, baby. You're born to live in the sewer. That's just your lot in life. And we don't see too much difference in our system, depending on where you're born. The royal bloodlines of Scotland and England. You were just born to be poor and miserable. And he's making deals. And they know how to please that rabbit. Would you like a $400 million new plane? Oh, guys, you're so nice. You're so kind. And they're laughing all the way because they look down on the white American president. Because the Middle East edict, there is a conviction that can't be bought. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. There's a conviction. It's a theocratic system, Iran, Syria. Oh, they have, some of them, some secular component. But the fuel and the fire in their body is theocratic. Islamic expansionism against the Western world. And they're even afraid of the extreme of their own country, which we say extreme, but it really isn't extreme. It really is who they are. It's like good cop, bad cop. They recognize they have a public face for the world economy, for trade, that appears to be secular. But at its core, it isn't secular at all. These are Islamic republics, which will do anything necessary in order to help, even if they have to pretend they're secular, pretend they're like you, to infiltrate and to expand. They did it once before. They're going to do it again. Because what drives them is not oil or, sorry, Mr. President, not gold, but subjugation of every other culture in the West and in Africa under Allah. They always have, they always will. It's what they're going to do. Like the colonialists, only much worse. And the colonialists had some degree of religious fervor, but that was simply the religious aspects that were used at the behest of the secular aspects of the colonial empire for psyop operation psychologically. Well, convert them to our Western religion as well. That only helps us have more power over them and get rid of their jungle fever beliefs, except our hybrid jungle fever beliefs under Catholicism and Protestantism. But the brutality of the expansionist Islamists is far more dangerous, Mr. President. They gave you a plane, so what? They just figured That's a carrot. They don't care about that. 400 million, 2 billion, it means nothing to them. They make deals because they are pulling you in under their thumb. The same way the Saudis did when they invited the oil companies under Dick Cheney and others, Halliburton, and you name the rest, Standard Oil, to come in into the empire in Saudi Arabia and start helping them get the oil out of the ground. Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. And the more they can tie you to them, the less you can do to stop them from driving Israel into the sea, which is primary goal. The Jews and the Christians, the Israelis and the West, they will not be happy until they have complete domination and you are subjugated under all Islamic law, secular and Sharia. Sunni and Shiite. Why fight anymore? Let's come together and just wipe them off the planet. That's the goal. Russia understood that. But the enemy of their enemy becomes their friend. China really has come down on it. And that's one of the things I'm not so certain exactly how that's going to play out. But China's fight against the Islamists, who's joining who and how soon? They've already infiltrated the various tribes in Africa, haven't they? It remains to be seen what's going to happen with them, with Australia, and with the tip of Africa, the southern tip of Johannesburg, Cape Town. But they're going after the power centers. And our president, well, all he's thinking about is not the conviction of faith. What is the conviction? They call Trump Hitler. Really? Really? Hitler had a conviction of supremacist views, white supremacy. Trump doesn't see it that way. It's not racial for him. It's more monetary supremacy. But be careful of the man that has a religious or racial conviction. That's a fire that is easy to fan because it reaches the human at their beggar parts, the lesser part of who we are, the real animal of the human. And while we might pretend we just want to all be in offices and live like that, at our core, we're just creatures trying to survive in a harsh jungle. Protect the border from what? The economy that we have in this country is because people come across the border. Americans aren't picking strawberries. They're not in the almond fields. They're not doing many of the jobs that even in an Italian restaurant, it's not an Italian mother that's cooking. It's probably a Mexican back there cooking that food. Same thing in a Korean restaurant. They come from Mexico, South America. They come to do the job that we won't do. So what are you doing when you invite the foreigner? And you invite the foreigner to do the job that you won't do. Heck, you don't even want to care for your own aging, ailing parents. In Israel, they bring in foreigners to care for their own Asian mothers and fathers, don't they?
Yeah, in Israel, it's pretty much the same. We learned this from the U.S. Really, all of the people out in the fields, they're not Israelis. Israelis are not sweating out in the hot sun. We got Thai people and Hindu people and all kind of people. And that's why, when October 7th happened, right, they kidnapped, they took hostages, all of those Thai people, and the rest of them fled the country. So now, ever since then, we have a trouble in the south. All the agricultural land, all the harvest and the crops, all goes to waste. There's nobody to pick it up. All the foreign work is gone. And the same thing with, what do you call it, aging care. My grandpa and grandma, they had a Filipino, then they had a Sri Lankan, then they had a woman from Nepal. Grandpa always says when his father and mother were old, it was him and his brothers taking care of mom and dad. Now, who has time for this? And it's not just the time, you just don't care, so you pay somebody else off because you think you're so much better than they. Well, I have a job, I'm making so much more money than this. I can just hire somebody lesser than me. Somebody of a darker skin color to do the dirty work I don't want to do because, well, I'm a Jew, I'm an Israeli, I'm an American, I'm a white person. Get those brownies in here, get those Mexicans, get those Arabs. See, all the lower jobs in Israel, who does it? Arabs. They're like the Mexicans in Israel. All the street paving and all the manual labor, all the construction, all of the grocery stuff, the trucking, all of those jobs that Israelis are too good for, if you know what I mean. Well, we're Israelis, we prefer to sit in a cubicle, in the air conditioner, work in high tech. Put on a nice shirt and nice pants. We don't like to get our hands dirty, sweat out in the sun. Let the foreigners do that. The pride, that's what we talked about in Hosea. The pride of
Well,
Ephraim.
and because you brought the foreigners, and we did the same thing here. When I grew up, Americans were doing the tree trimming and the landscaping and the window washing. In other words, we as citizens, we did everything. But then as the foreigners came in, we stopped doing it. The English did that. The Paris, the French did that, the same thing. And we've become less connected with the earth and less connected with our own country. We've sold ourselves. We sold one part, we sold our left arm for what the right arm was reaching and grasping for. But we sold our soul. And we decided and considered and raised and told our children it was more important to make more money than to be righteous. And when you said money, all the kids could think about is college debt and a university, because you told them about a job, but you didn't tell them about a purpose, a God ordained purpose. So they didn't see work as holy. They only saw a certain job as holy. And then they gave them pride and arrogance and elitism and too much luxury and what does not have true value. And then God. Now, when you try to teach someone, they can't even hear. Foreigner. We sold our souls. We sold our souls as a nation and as a people.
And Trump is not going to fix it. All of his talk about immigration and bring jobs back to America. Yeah, he says bring jobs back, but I think that some of the first things he did was lay off thousands of Americans that already had jobs by cutting out all of those budgets. So you want to bring jobs back to America by eliminating jobs and then cracking down on the immigrants? He's crazy.
Well, money, because it's all about money. And that's why AI is going to be eliminating most of the jobs, because it's all about money. So why pay that person?
Well, the Industrial Revolution. Machines don't sleep, machines don't need money, So you have one person monitoring the machine instead of 50 people working. Well, that was back then. Now it's the AI revolution that Trump is supporting. So how is he creating more jobs? AI is going to replace 90% of the workforce, if not more.
We cannot keep up with it. Forget about women in the workforce and being paid less well because they have to bear children. Maternity leave. Yeah. They wanted to hire men. They don't have to worry about maternity leave. It's over. And you guys don't see this yet, do you? What's coming? What's coming? Continue to trust in man, but you will not trust in God. Something to think about.